to the client in front of me. It really was when they said, when I asked for some feedback, when I realized that I lost the listing, what could I have done better? And they really blatantly said, literally said, we just felt like you didn't meet our needs and you weren't really listening to us. And hearing that, at least I had some concrete evidence that I wasn't listening.
This is the Sales Bible Podcast, episode 350, How to Turn a Loss into a Success, an interview with Jennifer Seeno Tucker.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers. And sometimes you just need a splash of ice water in your face to wake up to the mistakes that you're making in life. That's what happened to Jennifer Seeno Tucker, our guest. She'd lost $1 million deal, and boy, did that hurt. She asked why she didn't earn the deal, and they told her, "You didn't listen." With over 20,000 realtors in Long Island, she's got a ton of competition, and she knew she had to step up her game, and that's exactly what she did, and that is what we're going to be talking about today. Jennifer is a person who never saw herself as a salesperson, but here she is now, the Vice President of Business Development at Exit Realty. I love it. I love it. So, with no further ado, let's get to the interview. Welcome, Jennifer. Are you ready to babble?
I'm ready to rumble for sure.
We're not rumbling, we're babbling. This is not sales rumble. You are a real estate agent.
That I am. I truly am. Yes.
We were chatting just a little bit earlier. It was not your first choice in life, was it?
No, it definitely was not. My first choice, after graduating, getting my master's degree in education, I chose to be an educator and a gym teacher nonetheless. I took a traditional route with high school, college, master's degree, and never thought I'd end up in sales. In fact, I'm one of 4 children, and my mom always says that I'm the last one that she thought would go into sales or real estate, for that matter.
Well, you're a perfect match for Sales Babble because that's kind of what we focus on, are people who don't really see themselves as salespeople, but for one reason or another have made a decision that they want to get into the persuasion business.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. I thought I'd be persuading children, but no, it turns out I'm more like helping adults find their dream home.
Why? Why real estate?
I've taken some other avenues regarding entrepreneurship that just didn't work out. And I saw my mom raise 4 children on her own with this financially freeing mindset. And at the time, I had just become recently divorced as well. And I figured if she can do it, I definitely can. And it just kind of seems like I wanted to create her and extend her legacy and what she had created through real estate. And it just kind of took off, and she was a great mentor through it.
I've known a ton of people who've dabbled in real estate. In fact, a lot of people do dabble. You probably have an awful lot of competition out there. What separates you from those dabblers?
Yeah, I mean, just in my county alone, there are over 20,000 real estate agents, licensed agents. And I think I didn't really differentiate myself in the beginning. I probably followed the status quo and did what everyone else did, put their name and face on a sign and really try to market the property the best way they did. And it wasn't until I lost the deal that I realized that I needed to really brand myself a little bit better and change my perspective in how I was treating my clients. And it was then when I began to focus on the relationship with the person in front of me, as opposed to the transactions and how many units I was going to do that year, or how much my commission was going to be, how many clients was I going to speak to. When I started focusing on the person in front of me and the relationship that I was going to create with them, that's what really differentiated myself from everyone else.
How did you come to that epiphany?
It was not being in tune when I lost that deal, not being in tune and listening to the client in front of me. It really was when they said, when I asked for some feedback, when I realized that I lost the listing, what could I have done better? And they really blatantly said, literally said, we just felt like you didn't meet our needs and you weren't really listening to us. And that, hearing that, at least I had some concrete evidence that I wasn't listening. In the past I thought I was, but apparently I wasn't. I was just kind of rolling through that presentation at the time.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. You're laughing now. I wasn't laughing then. It actually was a crying kind of moment, but it was a teachable moment that I recognized, and I'm grateful for it, that I was able to recognize, what I was doing. And basically I was just fumbling through my career in the first 3 to 4 years, I want to say. And it was that moment when I lost, and it was a big listing. It could, a nice $1.1 million listing that I lost, and I was like, what kind of happened here? And I'm grateful that they were able to be so honest with me.
What were you doing wrong?
God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, and I was not using both ears. I was using my mouth more, and I was just talking. I didn't present an upfront contract um, initially, even or create an agenda for that presentation moment that I was having with them. And I was just kind of fumbling through it and didn't realize what was happening. It's kind of what I had learned and taught, but then at that moment, it was, I really need to hone in on who I am and who the person is in front of me.
You didn't think about quitting the business?
No, I couldn't at that time. I was too invested in the business. I mean, it had been 4 years, and I had ultimately let go of my paycheck job as well to become a full-time employee. I didn't look back. I couldn't look back. I don't believe in looking back. That's always kind of been my mindset from the beginning. To quit would is not for me. I mean, I'm an athlete as well. So I played college basketball, and the adverse moments that you meet in athletics, I think ultimately I don't know how to quit. I just keep going. Even when you're down 20 points, you still keep playing.
Yeah. You're in New York, right?
I'm in New York on Long Island, yes.
I have friends in Brooklyn, and they say that the real estate business has just gone insane this year.
Definitely they are on point. It has been a bit crazy, but good crazy. Crazy is always good.
They had a small place pretty much working from home, couldn't move around, and everybody was moving out as best as they could, and they were struggling to find a place that had some space. How have you stepped up to this challenge?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think during these times and this pandemic, I mean, let alone, and we were just talking about really listening to the person in front of you. It was really a nurturing and hand holding experience for many sellers. Ultimately, I mean, we were hit pretty hard here regarding COVID, and there were a lot of deaths. So we did see that turn around in the real estate market where maybe children had lost their parents and needed to sell their home or their family home, and it was really a nurturing kind of process. I'm actually going through it right now, even with one of my clients as we speak, that I'm holding their listing as well, and it really becomes, not just, and I hate to use the expression, use car salesman kind of attitude, but it's just you really just need to be present and in the moment and really find yourself grounded with them as you experience the process and you go through the process with your client. That's really how I have ultimately stepped up my I would say my sales, and I've continued to really grow throughout this. I mean, I'm the top agent in my office. I'm in the top 10% in my local region. So, I've continued to do well, prosper, and retain relationships throughout the pandemic too.
What's your process for business development? How do you acquire new leads?
Right, right now, about 70% of my business is coming from referrals. My new leads is really come from just how do I lead generate is really I'm a big fan of the, like I just said, the relationships. So I still like door knock, and I love it. It's kind of what I do. And the other part of that is just farming 500 a 500 um, homes so that I continually stay in contact with those people. I mean, I think maybe in my 4 years, I've spoke to the same person twice, maybe, maybe a handful of times, but, I never really reach all those people, and the area does turn over. So, I love to cold call and build a relationship that way. And then just continue to follow up with some drip email campaigns. And like I said, drive-bys and staying in touch during the holidays.
Why during the holidays?
I just, I think it's just a special time of year. I'm a big fan of like this time of year, like right in the cusp, like the first 2 weeks of December. It's like Happy Thanksgiving, and Merry Christmas, so to speak. And I just kind of touch base because ultimately we usually have like a spring selling season. So this is a good time to really stay in touch and stay in front of the people that I believe are going to sell in the next 6 months.
How does door knocking work? Especially during a pandemic, because a lot of people, even like all those politicians running for office, they weren't knocking on doors this year like they.
Yes. How does it work? It's the same way it always has. I mean, I'm just asking if there's anything I can
People
help them.
saying, they're saying, Jennifer, get away from me.
Yeah,
Don't infect me with your.
yes and no. I mean, I still leave something there, whether it's a business card or what I call a swag bag. So typically when I'm doing an open house, I really make this a family business where my daughters are door knocking for me, or at least hanging door knockers. So that's kind of how I stay in touch and just let the neighbors know what's going on in their local community. So that's really how my door knocking kind of works.
Oh, so if you're listing a house, you'll go work that neighborhood around that
Yeah,
house.
for sure. I mean, I'll stay within like 100 homes, and I'll just door knock those 100 homes, let them know that this house came on the market. But I farm an area of 500. Every 2 weeks, they get a postcard, and every other week, we are calling those people.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know, but
I have a couple ladies that are constantly sending me postcards.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I've talked to real estate agents. I was thinking about moving a couple years ago. Who just I actually one came out here and just kind of dropped off to the planet. I have no idea. You would think they'd be working me, right?
Right.
I find that so curious, so interesting.
Well, it's the persistent and consistent behaviors, right? Science tells us that, someone has to see you 9 times in order for them to know and remember who you are. That's science. It's not, anything made up here. So if I'm in front of the same person nine to 10 times, I have a higher chance of them, listing their home with me than another agent that's out there. I mean, I'm gonna do 50 transactions this year as a solo agent, which is pretty good. And without any team members at all, except my part-time transaction coordinator. And our average home sale price is 500.
Right. I have a friend of mine who came from a family of real estate agents, and she hates real estate agents. And she was trying to sell them marketing services, like teach them how to run an email list. You
Right.
said that you had a drip. You said you had a drip campaign,
Yes.
and she was just amazed at how few wanted to do anything. They would take her class, but they wouldn't take action on it.
I think that's the mindset of the agent that comes from I'm spending money. I make a commission check, and that's kind of paycheck employee mindset, right? I get my commission check and then it's mine. Well, no, you need to be the CEO of your business, right? Where that commission check is, yes, 50% of it's yours, 30% goes to the goes to the government, and then the other 20% should be reinvested into your business. I think that's where a lot of agents miss the point. We're so focused on getting the commission check and then paying our bills and everything. Yet once we treat ourselves like an LLC or an S corp and pay ourselves as the employee, that to me, that for me, that's when things shifted as well. And a lot of agents kind of miss that point.
That totally makes sense too, because especially if you start out working for some real estate agency,
Hmm.
you know, you're going to be building a relationships, a Rolodex of people. I would think you want to be taking them with you if you go elsewhere, or you want to strike out on your own, or
Yeah, I
and
mean,
an email's a great way. An email's a great way of like doing that.
well, yeah, your database constantly goes with you, right? I've only changed companies twice now, but my relationships have lasted, whether I was with company A or company B. It wasn't about,
Mhm.
whose logo was over my name. It was about Jennifer, all right, and the service that she's going to provide me as opposed to A or B company.
How do you pick a company?
It really is a good choice. It really is smart to pick one that's best suits your needs. I mean, that's kind of a tough question because there are so many great brokers out there, but it's not necessarily, in my opinion, the brand or the franchise, okay, that you sign up with. I think it's more of a connection with the training, technology, and culture that the broker in your office is going to provide you. I mean, I'm lucky enough that my mom is my broker. So we have really, and as the um, vice president of business development and training, it really is my job to kind of create this culture and the training program that really is going to support the agent. I mean, I hear a lot of agents who, ultimately move over to our brokerage say, I didn't get the support. There was no training, let alone no, there wasn't any culture within our office. And that's what they're missing. So if you can find a broker that's able to provide at least three of those things, I think that's the kind of broker you want to be with.
How do you build a culture when you're in a pandemic and the vast majority of you are working from home or working out of your cars? I would think. Um, how do you do that?
Ironically, we saw during the pandemic our office meetings attendance increase as opposed to when we would meet in person. So I think it is really just we're staying in touch with the agent as to, what were the current events and current things happening during the pandemic. Can I be a real estate agent, or do I have to stay behind the scenes and I can't leave my house? what are some ways that I can provide, services to my current clients during the pandemic. Staying in touch, just like you do with your clients, is really the way that our culture continued throughout. We did a, client appreciation where all of our agents were able to invite their clients in to our office, not during the pandemic, but in the past. And what we were thinking of doing is kind of doing something similar, where we created a wind down Wednesday for our agents over a Zoom meeting. So it was, just like with our business, we just shifted everything to, over Zoom where we can meet face to face, because it was a time, obviously, that we couldn't be in the office. You're laughing, Pat.
It's interesting, isn't it?
What's the interesting part?
Well, I tell you, I actually do the same thing, right? Today's Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. And out of the co-working space, the maker space, the Fox Build space that I work out of, we're not going in, but
Right.
we're still doing Taco Tuesday over Zoom.
Yeah, so you're still eating, you're still conversing. We're talking about things that are going on in people's lives as well as their business. I'm still part of a networking group where we meet at 8 a.m. the first Tuesday of the month via Zoom. We're still meeting,
Yep.
having breakfast with each
Yep.
other. We're still networking. And believe me, I have gotten, a listing out of it. So, you know, keeping those relationships, whatever way that means for you as a salesperson, it is really, what it's all about. A lot of agents, kind of had a meltdown moment during the pandemic, and I didn't understand it. I'm like, why? I don't get it. I don't get it. Because all we had to do was shift our business online. During the pandemic, I listed 7 houses and put 4 of them in contract during the same time period. So I didn't understand why agents were so worried when all we had to do was give our presentation that we typically do in their living room in our own bedrooms, and while the other person was in front of their own computer and in their living room. It just
Right.
was bizarre.
Yeah. If you could give other real estate agents, or maybe our listeners, people who sell all kinds of things, if you could give them one piece of advice that they could go and take action on this week, what would that be?
To learn, or at least get a good idea of what the DISC personality profile is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I really put a lot of psychology into my sales. And once we learn to understand, like I was saying before, if we understand the person who is and their personality in front of us, that's, I think, the shift that we all need. And it's not going to be in your sales relationships either. If you learn DISC, okay, and you're able to
And
apply
define and
it
why
to
don't why,
children.
and why don't you define disc? Why don't you define disc for our listeners?
Oh, DISC is just a personality profiling assessment where basically you are all 4 of the DISC personalities, yet 2 of them are basically what stand out. And one is nature, what you're born with, and the second one is basically a part of your environment or in the manner that you grew up. It's
Your
just
nurture.
personality profiling.
Yep.
So I'm a high DC. How about you, Pat?
I don't remember. I don't think I've ever taken the disc.
No?
I've done Myers Briggs, and I did that. I've done a whole bunch of strength finders. I don't
Right.
remember what I have in all of them.
Well, you
I don't
speak.
know. So what do you think I am? What do you think I am? Can
I'm
you
going to go
tell?
with a CS.
What does that mean?
Just by, well, a C is someone who is a supporter.
Yep.
Let's see, and the S is someone who is very cautious.
Oh.
I think you are those, And just by listening to you, because you speak slow and you just don't see, I speak very fast, Pat, but knowing that you and I are talking to each other, I really, if you listen to me when you go back, I changed my tone to kind of match yours.
You mirrored me.
I definitely did.
Well, I'm often a pretty fast speaker. In fact, I talk too fast, I think. And I've really trying to listen during these interviews, and I really want to hear what you're saying. So I want to be pretty clear in my mind that I'm not thinking what I'm going to say next. I'm actually listening to what you're saying and responding to it as it happens. Just like, right, in any kind of sport, right? You shouldn't be thinking ahead. You should just be wondering, where's the ball right now? Where's the ball right now?
Yes.
And when I get the ball, then when I get the ball, I'll decide what to do with it. But, of course, I've been watching a lot of NFL. So I can't help but think about, he had made a decision what he was going to do when he caught the ball ahead before he caught the ball, and that's why he didn't catch the ball.
Right. Exactly. We're already thinking what we were planning ahead, right?
Yeah. So, and actually I found this too, because I've sold out East a lot. I sell New York a lot, and Easterners talk much faster than they do in the Midwest. And I used to sell down South, and they speak a whole lot slower.
Right. Well, I lived in Wyoming and just outside of the suburbs of Chicago. So my y'all sometimes comes out.
We don't do y'all out here in Chicago.
No, maybe it was from.
No. but you might in Wyoming.
Yeah, for sure.
You might say you all.
You all.
But you would never say a y'all.
Y'all.
That's not Great Lakes English. No, not at all.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
All right. So if people wanted to find you, wanted to connect with you, how could they do that?
Yeah, I'm huge on Facebook. It's my one platform, social media platform. All the others are just too mind-boggling for me. So Facebook, I'm /JSeenoTucker.com. And I'd also love to give your listeners, Pat, a free download of my book, Become a Rockstar Real Estate Agent. And you have the website that I hope you can include here at www.rockstaragenttraining.com.
I most certainly will stick it in the show notes so that people who are listening to this while driving or going for their long walk or whatnot can find that. So, Jennifer, this has been a ton of fun. Thank you very much for babbling here on Sales Babble.
No, you bet. It's definitely been fun, Pat. Thank you.
To learn more about our guest, go to the show notes at www.salesbabble.com, and you can find this episode and all the show notes for past episodes right on the homepage. Now, one of the best ways people hear about Sales Babble is from listener reviews. If you could go to your favorite podcast app and leave us a 5-star comment, that would be really great, because word of mouth is how podcasts spread. If you have a question or a comment about this episode or any episode, don't hesitate to reach out by clicking on the Babble Me button right on the website. Love to hear what you think. That's all we've got for today, so until next Tuesday, take care and have a highly successful and a profitable selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.